It's now my honor to introduce India's ambassador to the United States, the Honorable Taranjit Sandhu, who will inaugurate the summit and be joining us remotely. Ambassador Sandhu has a distinguished diplomatic career of over 30 years. He is no stranger to the United States. He has done 2 stints in the Indian mission to the United States in the past, and also a stint at the India's permanent mission to the United Nations. And he took over as ambassador in February of 2020. Ambassador could not be here today because he's tied up in Washington, D.C., but he was kind enough to pop in and visit the Center for Emerging Markets, and some of my colleagues and deans and faculty members and members of the advisory board a few days back when he was in Boston. We had a delightful time. We had a chance to explain how Northeastern is engaged with India, and also to pick his brains on some of the important policy and geopolitical issues of the day. And he was quite candid, and we found it fascinating. I think we are in for more of the same this morning. So with that, I would like to welcome Ambassador Sandhu. Thank you so much for making time for us on a very, very busy day, and for inaugurating the summit on India-U.S. Partnership for Innovation. Thank you. Over to you, Ambassador.
Professor David Madigan, Provost, Northeastern University, my good friend, Professor Ravi Ramamurthy, our outstanding Consulate General Taranjit S, business leaders, students, scholars, and faculty members, distinguished guests. Namaste, good morning to you. I'm delighted to inaugurate this conference on India-U.S. Partnership for Innovation, jointly organized by the Northeastern University and the Consulate General of India. We have had several celebrations to mark 75 years of India's independence, Amrit Mahotsav, and 75 years of the establishment of India-U.S. diplomatic ties. It is indeed special to have an event focused on innovation, that too anchored in the city, which happens to be the center of global innovation and creativity. India-U.S. ties, in particular economic relations, are driven by a multi-stakeholder partnership. The government, captains of industry, chambers of commerce, think tanks, and business schools all have an important role to play in this bilateral engagement. We deeply appreciate the work being done by the Center of Emerging Markets. I fondly recall my recent visit to your university just 2 weeks back. Friends, we are at the confluence of multiple global challenges, from the pandemic to supply chains, to climate change, to food security. Despite global headwinds, India is likely to grow at around 7% in 2022-23, making it the fastest growing major economy in the world. We clocked a double-digit 13.5% growth in the quarter April to June 2022. The Indian growth story is a global talking point today. Given India's population and its challenges, innovation is at the center of this story. Let me highlight to you 4 characteristics of the Indian innovation landscape. 1, we have been able to bring in scale and speed in our innovation. An example would be our massive effort to vaccinate our population, administering more than 2 billion vaccines. We are equally successful in scaling up vaccine production. Ask any pharma expert and he will tell you how complex the task is. We had a similar approach to the rollout of our socio-economic programs, be it opening of over 440 million bank accounts for those at the bottom of the pyramid, assigning unique identification number or Aadhaar to over 1.3 billion people, or distribution of 90 million clean cooking gas connections. Financial inclusion and digital identity allowed us to undertake direct benefit money transfers and provide food rations for 800 million people during the pandemic. And our fintech products have made us the home of 40% of digital payments made globally today. These figures would give you an idea of the scale and speed I'm talking about. Two, Indian innovation brings affordability to products and services worldwide. Take the case of rotavirus. A vaccine against the disease was produced here in the United States at a cost of $60. We bulk produced it in India at just $1. Producing biosimilars is another example as to how Indian pharma is bringing in affordability in the use of biologics, which otherwise are very expensive. Over 50% of drug prescriptions in the United States are serviced by Indian generics. Indian pharma is indeed making healthcare in the US affordable in its own way. Jaipur Foot Prosthetics, which has brought hope to the lives of millions, is another prime example. While the cost of an artificial limb in the United States is almost $10,000 to $12,000, the Jaipur Foot is available for just $70. Three, our innovations and ideas are contributing to the sustainability efforts in a big way. Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi has given a call to the global community to adopt Mission Life, that is, lifestyle for environment. Without changing our behavior, our consumption patterns, we can hardly justify our commitment to climate change action. India's lead in International Solar Alliance and its National Hydrogen Mission are much geared towards bringing that transformative change. Indian textiles and products made from hemp, bamboo, jute, water hyacinth are bringing new eco-friendly values to consumers the world over. And four, new thought and innovation is leading to a strong entrepreneurial culture in India, with a young population and a government committed to reform, ideation, and embrace of technology. A flourishing startup culture is taking center stage. Today, drone technology is being used by our farmers to spray pesticides, while geotagging and AI are employed to maintain soil health and raise crop production. From almost negligible numbers a few years back, today we have over 77,000 startups in India, with 107 of them having achieved their unicorn status. And not just that, Startup Connect is fast changing the contours of India-U.S. engagement as well. Ladies and gentlemen, India-U.S. partnership has unique strengths to drive the world of innovation. We are already invested in clean energy partnership in making the global supply chain more resilient and in harnessing the value of new and emerging technologies. As strategic partners, we have a clear roadmap ahead to innovate, build, and prosper. I'm sure you are going to find the sessions ahead engaging and meaningful. I appreciate the Vivek and Vandana Sharma India initiative at the Center for Emerging Markets for its support to the conference. It was an American industrialist who said, innovation is about inventing a motor car when people around would have thought about a faster horse. I wish the summit the very best. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you, Ambassador. I think you have a few minutes to take some questions. Is that? Yes. So the ambassador has kindly agreed to take a few questions from the audience. We have mic runners on the two sides of the room. So if you have a question, would you raise your hand? Anybody who'd like to get it started? It's always hard to get the first question. Yes, Lata, over here. Katrine, Rush, hurry up.
Thank you. Namaste, Ambassador Ji. It's wonderful to see the collaboration between the oldest democracy and the largest democracy in the world. And in terms of policies, international policies, I know India is working really hard. What is your key issue right now facing the global market, global health of the global community?
Thank you. Let me, in general, first say that as all of you are witnessing, there are clear global challenges at the moment. I think one of the lessons out, and I'm quoting President Biden here, no one is safe till everyone is safe. I think pandemic has shown us that however closed we might stay, however confident we are that if we don't allow anybody else to come in, perhaps things would be safe. But that has been totally disproved. So, therefore, global challenges require international cooperation and international partnership. And in that, you can see a number of initiatives like Quad, I2U2, etc., etc. In terms of United States and India, and here I may add particularly that you should keep in mind that India of today is very different. Why I mean different is that it's very young, as I said in my comments. 50% of India is 26 years and below. Therefore, India has what I would say is the infrastructure to provide global talent. And as you know, the number of countries today are aging. And in this are included a number of Western countries. So therefore, there is a great possibility of United States and India partnering in ensuring that the Indian young get appropriate skills so that they not only help both India and United States, but also become a source of strength for the entire world.
If I can just follow up on that, Ambassador, can you walk us through very quickly what are some of the sticking points in terms of the India-U.S. Economic relationship? I know there is lots of trade talks going on. What are two or three of the things that maybe India is concerned about, and two or three issues that the U.S. might be concerned about?
Let me again, Professor, underline one of the most important aspects in our bilateral relationship is that we need to break out of the silos approach. Just like both our leaders, Prime Minister Modi and President Biden, have been taking the broader perspective. That is, United States-India partnership is not only good for our bilateral relations, but also for global good. Therefore, I think the priority is, and that is included in the trade side too. Perhaps sometimes the trade bureaucracies can be conservative. It is but natural. However, we need to see in a more broader way. And some of the actions in the recent past point to that effort of taking a broader picture. For example, India joining the Indo-Pacific Economic Community. That is a positive movement. And similarly, even in the trade, if you see today, we have a record number of trade despite the COVID challenge, despite the fact that there is no free trade agreement, and despite the fact that number of smaller agreements are perhaps in its way. So therefore, I would again underline that it's important to have a win-win situation, to see the broader perspective, and perhaps don't get caught up in the silos approach.
Thank you, Ambassador. Yeah, Ashish?
Hi, good morning, Ambassador. Thank you for your comment. So, one area that is quite topical is semiconductors. So, we see a big issue between US and China in the area of semiconductors, trade issues. And also, we see more and more manufacturers wanting to adopt a China plus one policy. And we see Apple, for instance, now manufacturing phones in India, and there's a lot of manufacturing discussion about semiconductors in India. So how do you see India taking advantage of the situation in semiconductors right now? Thank you.
So what you have touched upon, as you very correctly and aptly pointed out, is the current focus all around in the media in the United States, in India. We are seeing a lot of focus on semiconductors. And one of the aspects that is leading to this partnership between United States and India is the reliability factor. And a lot of work is happening, but I certainly concede that a lot more has to be done. Both in the United States and India, special efforts are being made. There have been local legislations to basically encourage the semiconductor industry. But you know, semiconductor industry is a very complicated investment. It's not that fab can come up with just a thought. There is a lot of ecosystem that is involved in that. And in India, we have taken certain steps, certain productivity-linked production bonuses, so as to encourage industry to take futuristic steps in this. But I would also like to add here that very recently you saw that the Qualcomm chief was in India. He made some comments even on the semiconductor industry. They are looking at investing in India. Similarly, many of the other semiconductor industry leaders are taking that effort. But one additional area I want to point out here, that apart from the investments and apart from research, etc., in which India is a leading light, there is also going to be a huge requirement for trained manpower. And in that, as I indicated earlier, that in the semiconductor industry too, the young in India can play a very important and powerful role. And therefore, many of the semiconductor majors are looking at training the manpower in India appropriately, both for the industry in India, in the United States, and perhaps at the wider world circle.
Thank you, Ambassador. Okay, we have time, I think, for maybe one or two more questions. The Ambassador has to go to the White House in 5 minutes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador.
Can I just suggest we'll take both questions and then he can respond to the two together very quickly?
Okay, sure. Thank you, Mr. Ambassador, for taking my question. So I want to know, like, for next 5 to 10 years, how you see the India and US relationship, and to achieve that target, like how the Indian community staying in US can help you.
Okay. And the other question, please.
Hi, you mentioned how young of India are going to be source of manpower for rest of the world, right? What are the steps in which these young can be cultivated so that they get the right direction and they maximize their potential?
Thank you. Both are very interesting questions. Firstly, the role of the Indian Americans and the Indian community here in the next 5 to 10 years. Let me go back to my first stint here in 1997. And if I look back from that time, I would have never imagined that the relationship would be at this stage. So therefore, I am confident that if I look 5 to 10 years ahead, I will only be quoting what President Biden has said, what Secretary of State Tony Blinken has said, that India-U.S. relationship is the most consequential relationship in the coming days. The Indian American community, of course, firstly, we are very proud of the fact that the professionals in United States have done so well. Today, again, it's a matter of pride that if an Indian American is part of a board, which actually helps for the value of the company to go up. In other words, the Indian Americans have contributed to the competitive edge of the United States. They have brought value. Similarly, at the current moment, we have 200,000 Indian students, and 2/3 of them are in STEM areas. These kids also bring competitiveness and value to the United States. And therefore, in the coming years, I would only encourage that there is a great possibility for education and knowledge partnership between the United States. Yes, in the past it has been there, but now with the new education policy, there are other mechanisms like establishing campus-to-campus relations, establishing intertwining of degrees, joint research work, and I know that your university is already having many key partnerships with India, but there are many more areas in which we can combine and work together. I just want to mention, I recall during the height of COVID, I had spoken to Dr. Fauci at that time, and we had again tried to connect our scientists and our medical experts, and they worked very closely in exchanging information, even exchanging certain best practices at that time. So therefore, there's a wide scope, and the Indian American professionals here can play a very significant role. The second question was regarding the young and how that can be tapped. I can give you an example of some of the countries, especially of Europe, in India, when they set up, that is their industry majors set up an industry. On the sidelines, they also set up a small skilling unit. They train the young of those areas, of those villages, and utilize them, provide them jobs in their own setups. And I know that subsequently, even for 2 to 3 years, they have taken them back in their country of origin, which to an extent has helped with the aging population problem which I mentioned. But as I gave the example of the semiconductor industry, similarly, I mean, it is amazing the kind of skills that are required, including in United States. Right now, a major challenge is of skilling. Similarly, in India, the Prime Minister is very aware of this and has been speaking about this. Number of initiatives have been taken to convert this major population of young we have into a great opportunity.
Thank you, Ambassador. I know you have to run. We greatly appreciate the time you made for us, and please convey our best wishes on this happy occasion to all of the people of India. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you very much, and I want to take this opportunity to wish all of you a very happy Diwali in advance.
Thank you. Thank you, Ambassador. Same to you.